Hey, what's going on? Coming into another video. All right, so let's have a THT conversation. Let's have a Taylor Horton Tucker conversation because I'm seeing memes going around. I mean, obviously hearing trade rumors and talking about trade rumors on his channel and things of that nature involving his name. And I just want to kind of discuss it. What I think is going on and what may be going on or what have you, just from my little perspective here. So, THT is a player who's been struggling a lot. Obviously, he started the season hurt, so he's been trying to work his way back into shape. And then in the process of trying to get back in shape, he went down with COVID, so he's just coming back from that. So he's been in and out of the lineup. And the thing about it is, the Lakers paid him this offseason. And, it's one of those situations where I guess the question for a lot of Laker fans is why? And did we do it too soon? Those are the two questions I think some people are asking. And I think I have the answer for both of those. I think we paid him early because we understand that he has some metrics, long arms, huge hands, things like that that make him extraordinary. Um, that's really what the Lakers paid for. It wasn't his skill set. It wasn't that he developed already. It's not that he's a world beater just yet or anything like that. It's because his genetics make it so that he can do things on a basketball court in theory, um, going forward, that you can't teach based on those metrics, based on those arm length and those hand length and all of that stuff. So they paid him with the intention of developing him in hopes that when LeBron succeeds, he could be one of our primary ball handlers, creating for not only himself but others with his skill set, which is a scoring skill set, someone who could drive at the basket, somebody who could do a lot with his arm length defensively, getting tips and 50 balls and things of that nature. He has a really dope handle, in terms of his size. He could break people down ISO. He could do a lot of things for you. So, he's a project, but you paid him early because you wanted to make sure you had your hands on him first. The problem is he ain't ready for the role the Lakers have for him at all. The Lakers need, and it's a problem they have with Kyle Kuzma as well. You're waiting for players to develop, and you're asking them to be who they need to be tomorrow, who they're going to be tomorrow for you. Like, you need them to be that, and that's not how this works. See, the Lakers had the right attitude as it pertains to THT. The only problem was who they were, the Lakers, while doing what they're doing. That's the problem. If you're the Orlando Magic, you do this because THT is going to be a part of your young core. And even if you're overpaying him now, you don't care if you're overpaying him because you're still going to develop him properly. See, that's the thing. Just because you overpay for a player's Lakers does not mean that you could just forego the development process and ask them to be who they're going to be when they're fully developed. And then when they don't become that, you become frustrated and trade them. Now, becoming frustrated and trade him does not necessarily mean that's what the Lakers are doing. Trading him is realize if they decide to trade him, they realize they've made this egregious mistake, and are trying to right that wrong. And or he's our best trade piece and ain't got no other choice. But the reality is, the Lakers should not have been trying to be the team that did this, that paid him early. Because you, Lakers, can't develop him properly based on your needs, given the fact that we have so many things that are missing on this roster, and given the fact that you needed him even at full strength, even if the team's at full strength, you needed him to be better than what he is. But you didn't have the plans of making him that. You don't have the time to develop him to be that. And most importantly, this was foreseeable because of it. There's a lot of stuff that went wrong with the Lakers, and if they would have had a full, healthy trio of superstars, a lot of this stuff gets masked. You see what I'm saying? You're not worried about THT going 1 for 13, having games where he looks so bad, even though you have him on contract, because you know that the development process must still be followed. And that is what we're not doing. We just don't have the right stuff in place for him to comfortably develop, work through his progressions, make his mistakes, learn his lessons, and then become who he's going to become. I always say this, but I said the same thing about every player. Good players, sometimes it takes about 3-4 years to become who they're going to be. Role players, sometimes it takes 7-8 years for them to become who they're going to be. You, the developing team, is not going to get the best out of them. And this is what we went through with Kyle Kuzma. This is what we went through with Brandon Ingram. This is what we went through with Julius Randle. This is what we went through with Jordan Clarkson. All those guys, Lonzo Ball, every player we've ever had has gone on to be better than who they were when they were here. Why? 2 reasons. 1, we're not the greatest team at developing players. We're not. And 2, because we had them early before they became what it ultimately is they've become. And THT is the exact same thing. So, yeah, the Lakers had the right idea in terms of find a player with some crazy metrics, lock him up so the league can't get to him, because you know he's going to be valuable. All you got to do is develop him. That's where we're screwing up. We're not developing him. So that's the issue. What you're seeing out there is a player who has yet to develop, who's being asked to do too much, just like Kyle Kuzma. And then when he doesn't do that, a lot of the pressure falls on him because he's a Laker doing all of this, because he's next to LeBron James doing all this, and because the fact of the matter is, as I said, the Lakers just don't have what they need right now. They need THT to be a perimeter defender. They need him to be a good shot selector. They need him to be an unselfish player. They need him to be a heavy rebounder. They need him to be, someone who's constantly getting to the line. They need him to be all that stuff that he's going to be after he becomes who he's going to be. Now, if this is 6 years from now, 5 years from now, THT is going to help us in this situation, weather the storm, probably be our second or third best player. That's who he's going to be if we don't botch his development. But for now, he's a guy who hasn't played enough basketball to even be who it is we're asking him to be. He hasn't seen enough basketball in his career yet to actually be as cerebral and as fluid as a player as the Lakers are requiring him to be. So what we need to do is commit to something. Either we blow this whole thing up, like literally blow it up, and go forward with young kids all over again, with him being literally probably the first one on the list, because honestly, our timeline has nowhere in it, no part of it has developing young player in it. Or we could do what it looks like we're going to do and right this wrong by freeing him into the void, which means trading him to some team and let them go through the development process of him. You know what I mean? Let them build him up. Now, he's going to turn into what it is I'm telling you he's going to turn into. He's going to develop. The metrics alone will let you know what he's going to be. He's going to at least make an all-star team in his career, at least. But he's so far away from being that player that it's not even funny. Like, he's about 4 or 5 years from even being that guy. So the process of him becoming that guy, you have to give him time to do that. You have to give him minutes. He should be on a team like the Rockets right now, honestly, because they got the timeline. Team like that, everybody's talented. Nobody is a star yet. Nobody is expected to win, and nobody's expected to make great decisions. Nobody's demanded to be smart on the basketball floor. None of that. Everybody's just young and running. That's the type of situation THT needs to be in, not this nonsense over here with a bunch of old guys who need you to carry the load, and then when you don't, you look crazy, and people making memes about how you're supposed to be like Kawhi Leonard or some stupid crap. This is what made me turn on this camera. The memes was somewhere along the lines of, if you're looking for defense, go to AD. If you're looking for this, go to Kawhi. If you're going for assists, go for this guy. If you go, and they named all these big time superstar players that are fully developed and made 2 or 3 all-star teams. One of them even made an MVP. I'm like, yeah, that's a meme that makes people laugh. Say, yeah, THT's not good at anything. Ha ha ha. But the reality is, you about as casual as an idiot to make a meme like that when you're talking about somebody who's 21 years old and comparing him to guys who are upwards of 28, 29, who've made their careers already, who've been through the development stages that THT is going through. If you're going to compare him to anybody, you got to compare him to guys his age. And if you're going to compare him to guys his age, you understand that some of those guys are coming out the gate crazy great. Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley. And, you think about guys like that who out the gate, they're already great players. Second-year guys already blowing people out the water like Cole Anthony. So you can't compare them to guys like that because they have a special thing about them that makes them competitive right out the gate. Not everybody's like that. But I can name a bunch of players who are worthwhile who didn't pop out the gate. DeMar DeRozan is probably the best example I have because I've watched his career from a number standpoint from the very beginning. And he started off averaging like 5, 6 points. And then the next year was like 8 points. And then the next year was like 10 points. He started and continued very, very, very gradually, but very slowly. And you see where he is right now. That gradual getting better stuff is still carried over. He's still getting better. So what I will say is just let THT develop. Don't compare him to people like Kawhi Leonard and Giannis Antetokounmpo, because you look crazy when you do that. The meme is really funny to casual people who can't think for themselves, but for real sports fans like myself, we're going to make you look stupid because we're going to point out the facts. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. So yeah, man, am I happy with THT's performance? Yeah. Based on what it is I understand, is that he's not a player that's made his mark yet. You gotta understand, his first year, he didn't even play. We won the championship. He wasn't even in rotation. The second year, did you see THT running around very much? I didn't. Not a whole lot. And when he did play, as I told you guys, he was inconsistent. This is basically year 3, which is technically, more or less basketball-wise based on the minutes he's played. Year 2, 1.5 maybe. He's barely played. And like I said, this team is full of holes with their roster. They don't have what they need to even be a cohesive roster. Everyone must do more than what they're capable of doing in order to get the most out of themselves in this team. You got to do more than you can even do to make us win, because we have such useless pieces in certain cases. And so little time with those useless pieces at that. So, am I looking at THT saying, yeah, you've done all you need to do for us? Unfortunately, no, he can't. He's not capable of being that yet. So what we need to do is scale back, stop foregoing his development process, trade him somewhere where he can play, or accept the fact that he's not going to be what you need him to be, and stop asking him to be just because you've paid him. Because you still got to do your job, Lakers, in terms of developing the player. Just because you paid him early does not mean at all that he is ready to be what it is you paid him to be. Not yet. He'll be there if you wait. Let this LeBron era completely pass you by. Keep him on the roster. Let LeBron's era fade out. And when LeBron's gone, this guy will be who it is you need him to be. Maybe not to the level you need him to be at, but you'll start seeing signs of what your future will be with him. And you'll be happy you have him. I think you'll be happy you have him. But as unfortunately, the Lakers are on the LeBron timeline, and we gotta win now. We gotta win now. Or we could start the conversation to ending this LeBron era, if y'all want to start that conversation, because I've already begun heading down that path now. You have to. He's in year 19. He's in year 19, and he can't win with this roster. So, unless y'all ready to have that conversation, we got to trade THT and bring some players here that are going to help LeBron win right now. Period. That's it. Stop blaming players who are not that yet for not being that yet. They ain't going to be what it is you need them to be just because you need them to be that. So, that's what I got to say, man. That's my THT conversation. I think the kid's going to be just fine, so long as he gets the hell away from this situation. BDF44, thank y'all for watching. I'm out.